I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to this evening's meeting. This is the 16th meeting of the Board of Directors of the City of Hot Springs on this very fine Tuesday evening, September 3rd. Hope you all had a wonderful Labor Day weekend. We'll begin with an invocation by Wallace Yamauchi with First Baptist Church, and I'll lead the pledge. All rise.
Our Heavenly Father, we acknowledge that you alone are worthy of all glory, honor, and praise. We're grateful for the day you have given us and seek your presence and your blessings over this meeting. We pray, Lord, if it is your will, for the peace and prosperity of our beloved city, not for our glory, but for yours alone. We intercede on behalf of our mayor, our directors, our city manager, and all others leading in leadership or support roles, as together they focus on the business before them tonight. We pray for wisdom and integrity as they consider and make decisions on these resolutions and any other business that should be addressed tonight. And we pray for beneficial conversations with and from any guest tonight. Thank you for hearing our prayers. Thank you for your compassion, your kindness, and patience as you continue to mercifully call us back to you and for any additional favor you would grant us. In the name of Jesus, our Lord and coming Savior, amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now call this meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Director Aaron Holliday. Here. Director Phyllis Beard.
Present.
Director Marcia Dobbs-Smith.
Here.
Director Dudley Webb.
Here.
Director Karen Garcia.
Online.
Director Steve Trusty.
Here.
Mayor Pat McCabe.
Here. At this time, we'll consider approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions to the agenda, or items to be moved from the consent agenda to new business? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Director Trustee, seconded by
Second.
Director Webb. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Agenda is approved. This time we'll consider approval of the minutes of the regularly held meeting on August 20th, 2024. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Director Holliday, seconded by Director Dobbs-Smith. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. We have recognition of guests, some very, very special guests here this evening, and we're going to call upon Mr. Bill Burrows, City Manager, to review the various citations.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not sure if all of our firefighters are here tonight. Is firefighter Brandon Reed in the audience? I'm not sure that they got the notice to be here. We may carry this over until our next meeting. And then I know Lieutenant Talbert's not here, so we'll hold these and bring those to your next meeting. But I do want to recognize a couple of our employees in the street department. Our street manager, superintendent is here with us tonight, Mr. Ed Montgomery. And want to talk about two very special employees, and I'll call each one of them up. But to talk about a heroic deed that these gentlemen did, both Brady Scott and Josh House were in the area of Shady Grove and Hollywood when an accident took place that involved a van and our dog park fencing. From what we understand, the driver had some type of a medical emergency while driving, and apparently he had passed out at the wheel. He drove into a large boulder and then through the dog park fence. Our guys were able to witness that. They responded to the area, were able to get him out of the vehicle and on his side to get him breathing, and rendered first aid until LifeNet was able to get on site. So we want to recognize these gentlemen tonight with a Hero Award for exemplary service. And Josh, if you want to come on up first.
Thank you so much for your actions.
Thank you, sir.
Then secondly, we have Mr. Nazario, if you want to come on up. You know, you never know when an emergency like this may happen, and just really pleased with what you guys were able to do and make a difference in this person's life, literally in this person's life, and able to render that support. I know that everyone is very appreciative of your efforts, and it's a pleasure to be able to recognize you. And Mr. Montgomery, I appreciate you being here tonight as well.
Very good. Well, thank you, Bill, and thank you both. We look forward to your continued service to the city of Hot Springs, both in what you do and what you didn't anticipate doing that day. So keep up the great work. Thank you. City Manager's Report, Mr. Bill Burrow.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. I want to start off by talking about Animal Services. During the month of September on Mondays and Fridays, Animal Services is participating in the Garland County Library Show Me Your Library Card event. Individuals can bring their Garland County Library card to Animal Services at 319 Davidson Drive for $5 off on microchipping their pet. This promotion is valid for one discounted microchip per Garland County Library card. And again, it's Mondays and Fridays during the month of September. The Hot Springs Planning Department is providing an opportunity at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, September 10th, for Hot Springs property owners to sit down and talk about the new zoning map and what those changes may mean for them. The new zoning map and draft zoning code, Code Forward, is available on www.codeforwardhs.com. That'll also be on our website, and you can get to it through the Planning Department's page of the city's website. Meetings will be at the Garland County Public Library, Room D. The library is at 1427 Malvern Avenue. There's no appointment needed, just stop by. For more information, you can contact our long-range historic preservation planner, Lauren Atkins, at 501-621-5520, or you can get her information again at the Planning Department's website. Parks and Trails is hosting its annual Fall Tykes, Trikes, and Trails event from 10 to noon on Saturday, September 21st at Velocity Park. That's over on Valley Street for those that may not have seen that build. The free event is open to all ages. Participants can bring their bikes or their skateboards, scooters, wheelchairs to join in the fun. The Parks and Trails Department will even have a limited supply of bikes that can be used. All participants who register at the event will be in a drawing for a free bicycle and helmet. And while supplies last, all participants will receive a t-shirt, trail map, and other free giveaway items. And again, that is happening on September 21st, 10 to noon, Saturday at Velocity Park. We've had several new hires since our last meeting. Royal Reynolds joined us in Solid Waste Department. Sean Sprague in Animal Services has been promoted to Animal Services Supervisor. We've had 5 new firefighters that were added to our force. They've celebrated that graduation. I appreciate those board members that were able to attend. Our 5 new firefighters are Heriberto Barrera, Hunter Font, Abraham Liera, Alex Martini, and Robert Pinter. And this was their inaugural fire academy that we've had at the police station, at the fire station, and our training officers are doing just a phenomenal job with that particular class. Speaking on Velocity Park, on August 16th, the Parks and Trails Department installed 6 new picnic tables under the Velocity Park shade kite area, which overlooks the park. If you haven't seen that, it's really a nice addition to Valley Street. You'll also see a shade kite that's over the skateboard park that was recently installed. The Hot Springs Creek, Hot Springs Creek Greenway Trail, the Butterfly Garden, all of these are in that particular area, and there are now 2 charcoal grills and 2 new trash receptacles at that site. From August 14th through September 2nd, The Hot Springs Police Department worked alongside the U.S. Department of Transportation's National Highway Traffic Safety Administration for the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over High Visibility Enforcement Campaign. The goal was to deter impaired driving and prevent the tragedy seen in previous Labor Day weekends from happening again. As of Friday, the Hot Springs Police Department's numbers for that enforcement campaign, they had 31 citations, 25 warnings. They worked 65 hours on this campaign. 94 vehicles were stopped. 1 fugitive was actually apprehended, and then we had 5 DUIs. So great job by our police department in working with that other agency and partnering with them. The Bark Park we just talked about with the fence, it's back. The fence has been restored. It's back in operation, and really appreciate those that were patient while we waited on that repair to take place. But, you know, as you drive down Shady Grove Road, that Bark Park gets a lot of traffic, and you don't realize it until you can't go there. And then you start receiving those phone calls. When is the Bark Park going to be fixed? So I appreciate all of those calls and glad that we've got that back up and running. Also on August 30th, the Hot Springs Police Department held a ceremony for official officer badge pinnings for Josh Crum, Ryan Hanley, Rourke Juarez, Seth Maestas, Zachary Reeves, Braden Watson. In addition, Chad Ford, Jonathan Smith, and Ty Threadgill received a promotion to the rank of corporal. Ben Mitchell, Richard Nunez, and Hunter Scott received promotion to the rank of sergeant, and Alan Constant and Chris Lackey received their promotion to the rank of lieutenant. Candace Shepard in our Public Works office, she's our Public Works office manager. She's been chosen to participate in Leadership Hot Springs program in class 37. It's a 9-month class that starts September the 13th, and I'm very pleased to be able to have staff continue to take advantage of Leadership Hot Springs, and I know Candace is going to thoroughly enjoy that. So we've received several phone calls, and you may have as well, on a building at 501 Malvern. This is a multi-tenant facility that has had some issues with their elevator. It's been going on for about 2 weeks, maybe just over. They were able to work on the elevator. They got it up and running. It lasted 1 day and went back down. We have been able to confirm with Schindler, the company that's working on the elevator, that they have ordered a part. Waiting on that part to get here. Probably going to be early or mid next week before that's here. I know our fire department has been doing a lot of assists with those that are living in upper floors that needed to rely on that elevator. We were able to confirm, though, that they do have a permit open for that elevator repair, not just with us, but also with the state. So as soon as that part gets in, they'll be able to fix that elevator. But I know several of you have contacted me, and so I wanted to make sure that I got that information back out to you as I received that really just prior to coming in here. And then the last thing I have, Mayor, is I'd like to announce that Director Dudley Webb has been appointed to AML's Advisory Council for the Cities of Large First Class. Very happy to see you accept that appointment. I know that that'll be very, very beneficial as you attend those particular meetings. I think several of our board members have held some type of position on advisory councils with Arkansas Municipal League, and glad to see you join that rank. Mayor, that's all I have.
Very good. Thank you. We'll move on to Board of Directors announcements regarding upcoming events. Directors have any upcoming event they'd like to announce? Director Dudley Webb.
Thank you, Mayor. The event I'd like to share with everybody is Adopt a Pet Day fundraiser. It's taking place this Saturday, September 7th, 9:30 to 11:30 in the morning. It will take place at the Hot Springs YMCA, which is at 130 Warner Street. Hot Springs Animal Services has partnered with the Hot Springs YMCA for a family fun event. Tickets will be available for purchase for raffles, and there will be booths for kids, adults, and then so much more. There will be food and dogs and puppies there for adoption. So those showing up also need to bring a portable pet cage with you where you can adopt a cute little puppy to take home. That's this Saturday, September 7th, 9:30 to 11:30 at the YMCA. Thank you.
Very good. Any other announcements of an upcoming event? Director Holliday.
Thanks. I wanted to remind everyone, if you can't tell by the signs popping up everywhere, that we are going into campaign and voter season. November 5th will be our next election, but letting everyone know that if you are not registered to vote, the last day to be registered will be October 7th. If you're worried about maybe where your registration status is, or maybe the address, you can go to Voter View Arkansas and actually look up with your personal information and see if you need to update your address. If you need to get registered, you can visit our county clerk, or if you're not in Garland County, your own county clerk or the Secretary of State's office in person or online to make sure that you're registered. And like I said, the deadline to be registered to vote in November will be October 7th. So, thank you.
Any other announcements of an upcoming event? For those of you who can't get enough roller derby, on September 7th at the Convention Center, beginning at 9:30 a.m., the Arkan Brawl roller derby tournament. Rocktown Roller Derby in Arkansas's inaugural roller derby tournament. I don't know, back in the day, they used to televise roller derby on TV, and I think I actually had a niece that was quite good at roller derby, and out of Kentucky. So apparently, is that fake stuff?
I think it's real.
Those elbows look real.
Elbows look real.
All right. So if you'd like to go out and support and watch the roller derby, tickets are $15 pre-sale. Day of tickets are $20. So it's at the Convention Center, 9:30 a.m. on Saturday, September 7th. All right, anybody else? Guess after that, nobody wanted to offer. We'll move on then. We'll move on to consent agenda. These are of a routine nature and do not merit individual discussion, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Director Dobb Smith, seconded by Director Trustee. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is adopted. This time we'll have a public hearing. Public hearing is to consider the proposed abandoning and closing of an undeveloped portion of Beatrice Lane located in Johnson Subdivision in Hot Springs, Garland County, Arkansas. And City Attorney Brian Albright will lead the discussion here.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. As the mayor indicated, this is the public portion of the public hearing portion of state law that's required anytime the city considers the vacation or abandonment of a right-of-way. Beatrice Lane is an undeveloped right-of-way that is north of Cones Road, between 517 Cones Road and 801 Cones Road. The petitioners are Peyton Price, Ann Hood, Judy Garcia. There will be no action taken this evening. This is merely to open up a public discussion, if any there be, from anyone who wants to discuss this at your public hearing.
The public hearing is now open, so if anybody is in attendance that wants to speak on this matter of please raise your hand, come on forward. The public hearing is open. If there's no one here to speak on this item, then we will adjourn the public hearing and proceed to new business. Thank you.
We'll bring that action item to you at your next meeting, Mayor.
Okay. So we'll begin with consider resolution R-24-162, and now it's city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-24-162, a resolution declaring certain structures located at 846 Park Avenue nuisances and condemning same pursuant to Title 17 of the Hot Springs Code. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion, second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Trustee,
Second.
seconded by Director Webb. And the staff report will be provided by none other than Planning Director Kathy Selman.
Thank you.
You didn't look like Mike Scott, which was listed on the program.
No, nobody thinks we look alike. Thank you. This resolution proposes condemnation for removal of two structures at approximately 846 Park Avenue. Property is owned by John Montgomery and Deborah Cushing. The first structure is a single-family residence, and the second is an accessory structure that may have been habitable in the past. The planning department has had files for enforcement on this property as far back as 2005, when, based on the exterior conditions of the structure, we requested inspection of the inside of the home. And at that time, our records don't show that that request was granted. Many years went by, and again in 2017, notices to the owner were issued to make repairs to the structure, including damaged chimneys, exterior siding, and other structural damages. Since that time, notices have been issued requesting that the exterior property be cleared of all trash and debris and what looks to be hundreds of flower pots and piles of trash that have been dumped on the property. An inspection of the structures on May 22nd this year found that they are wide open with missing doors and windows, that there are holes in the walls, floors, and ceilings, as well as collapsing foundations that are missing bricks, and there appear to be no footers supporting the structure. It is directly on the ground. Based on the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code and the International Property Maintenance Code, the building has been deemed unsafe, and we are recommending condemnation for the purpose of removing both of the structures. Notices were issued to both of the owners, Mr. Montgomery and Ms. Cushing. And finally, having inspected the structures and deemed them unsafe for habitation because of extensive structural, roof, and foundation damage, and due to the extent of deterioration, the inability or unwillingness of the property owner to make repairs to stabilize, and having no reasonable alternative, we recommend that the structure should be raised and removed. The owner will have 30 days from the date of condemnation to either repair the structures or have them raised and removed. Should the city be forced to remove the structures, all costs associated with removal will be billed to the ownership, and a lien will be levied against the property for full costs. And this land does include 2 parcels, and this is only for the parcel numbered 55916 and not 55918 at this time.
Any questions of Ms. Selman? Is the parcel, the second parcel that's not included, does it have frontage on Park Avenue?
It does, yes. Mhm.
Any additional questions of Ms. Selman?
There's the parcel.
Karen's got her hand up.
Okay.
Director Garcia has her hand up.
Okay. Director Garcia, please proceed.
Thank you, Mayor. I apologize for not being there. I had eye surgery today, and I can't drive yet, and I have light sensitivity, so with the eye, so I'm got these dark glasses. I apologize. But I did want to follow up, was the taxes, property taxes on this property behind in their tax payments?
I don't believe so. Let me flip through here. It does not appear that they are in arrears.
On either parcel.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this resolution? Did we have anybody sign up to speak on this, Director Webb?
Yeah, sorry for being delayed, Mayor, but I've got a question, and I want to share with you, that I'll get some additional research on my own following the conclusion of this meeting. But, as I look at the timeline for this particular property, I noticed that, there were some issues happening as far back as '05 and then '17 and '21 and '22. Is the city at any point in time permitted to not only provide what issues the inspectors are finding that the property owners need to take action with, but can the city also, after so many days of the owner of the property not taking action, step in to do that action ourselves and then put a lien or something on the property owner? I give you this question because there could have been some time to save that home. Are we under any kind of law that would allow the city to take those kind of actions where we could save this particular housing and not, wait 3, 4, 5 years down the road and then end up just condemning it and tearing it down?
Mayor, I'll attempt to field that.
Thank you.
Yes, there are premise laws for weedy and nuisance lots. Structures are a little different. The planning office always sends out a 7-day letter when there are violations, giving the owner the opportunity to address those issues. And when they do not, we can go on the property and clean it up and file a lien, but we can't do anything with the structure itself. And it's my understanding that the property has been cleaned up on occasions over the past 20 years.
Okay, so that takes care of like clean up and mowing the grass, picking up trash, but
That's right.
what about for the structure itself?
We don't have the authority to do anything with the structure until the board condemns it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments or questions? Did we have anybody in the audience that wanted to speak on this item? Harmony, did we have anybody sign
Mayor,
up?
we did not have anybody sign up. We did have, Ms. Cushing did drop off some materials that she asked to be shown tonight. I have copies of those for each of the board members, but she is not with us this evening. Would you like me to pass these out?
That's fine, you can pass them out. Ms. Harmony, when, obviously she brought this material by, but in, our notices to, make improvements or to, have been significant over the years, what is their intention? Did they have an intention of trying to rehab it?
I did not speak with the individuals. These were just left, so I'm not sure what the intention was.
Kathy, has there been any contact with your office on getting a permit, or do they have the wherewithal, or?
I'm not aware of their resources. Ms. Cushing was in our office today and spoke with the building official, Mike Scott. I am unaware that any discussion involved obtaining a permit for the restoration of the structure.
Very good, thank you. As per our policies, any action we take today, provides the homeowner 30 days to visit with Mike Scott and his staff and permitting, so they can create an action plan if they so desire. So, I think we already asked the public if they were here to speak on this matter. Discussion amongst Director Holliday?
Yeah, I have a question. Just from these particular materials, and I think this would be a question for you, Kathy. If in fact it is on the National Register, does that provide any protection for the structure, or does that limit our involvement, or do we need to communicate with them? Like, does that have anything to do with what we're doing here?
It does not. The National Register is an honorary designation conveyed by the Park Service, I believe, the Department of the Interior, and does not put any limitations on the use or condition of the structure. That is entirely the responsibility of the owner. It's my understanding that the structure has been owned by this ownership since 1981, shortly after the 1975 designation of National Register status.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, just to avoid confusion, Kathy is absolutely right. The being on the register does not involve us. If this were in a historic district, it would be different. But this property does not reside within either one of the city's historic districts.
Okay. Any further discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Holliday.
Aye.
Beard.
No.
Dobbs Smith.
No.
Webb.
No.
Trustee.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. So we have 3-3, the motion fails.
Motion fails.
Director Garcia is unable to vote via our rules because she's not present, even though she's on Zoom. So we only had 6 individuals that could record a vote. So the property just stays as is?
It does, Mayor. The property has not been condemned by tonight's vote.
Is there any additional precautions for the health and safety of those in the proximity?
I would imagine that the adjacent property will still be cleaned up. It's in a condition that needs attention.
Okay, thank you.
And a lien will be placed on the property for that.
That's the question I was going to ask. Can we go ahead and clean this up? I can't, she say it was open? It's no utilities in there and it's open, Kathy?
It is open. This is a structure that is multi-story, and the degree to which we would be able to secure this is, I'm unsure what that would be. And the cost, I imagine, would be quite high. We are not certain that the structural integrity of this building would allow us to get up upon it to secure it.
And I do feel for the neighbors. I wouldn't want to live next to that, but I would like to see the city do something to at least secure it. And since it does have a historic designation, it maybe could have some preservation money put towards it. They're doing more with the residences now than they used to. But I'd like to see enough liens put on it that they have to sell it. And exercise our liens, because I wouldn't want to live next to that. No one would. It's not fair to the people that live in the neighborhood, but I would like to give it one more try to see if we could do something. Because it is a historic, if this information is correct, it says one of, if not the oldest structure in Hot Springs. I don't know that that's true, but that's what the literature says.
Yes.
And I'd like to at least give it a shot and see if we could do something, but by the same token, secure it so that the neighbors don't have to deal with whatever goes on in a open and vacant structure. And this mess here is unconscionable. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Director and other members of the board, I'll visit with Ms. Selman about options to bring a boarded secure proposal to you for your consideration, and if it's feasible to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next,
Can I ask a question on
Director
that?
Garcia.
In addition to that, would you let the board know when staff could bring this before the board again if the safety concern not reasonably addressed?
Yes, I'm going to discuss that with Ms. Selman about what our options are. If the options are feasible to bring it to you at your next meeting, I'll attempt to do so.
But I meant this same condemnation.
Does it have to wait 6 months, or is there a time frame that it could come back?
That's up to the board. The board can put it back on your agenda with 2/3 vote.
Thank you, just concerned about the safety.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Thank you, Director Garcia. Now we'll move on to consider Resolution R-24-163. And I'll entertain a motion, and ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-24-163, a resolution granting short-term residential rental license to 288 Lake Hamilton Drive in Hot Springs, Arkansas. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Webb, Director Trustee.
Mayor, members of the board, this comes to you by way of an appeal of a grant of an application for an STR license. The appellant in this case has had a death in the family, which requires her to travel out of state. In fact, the visitation is this evening with the funeral tomorrow. I've spoken with the applicant as well, and would ask that the board table this matter until your board meeting on October 1st. That's the next date that all of the parties will be able to be here with the board.
Very good, thank you. So we'll entertain a motion to table till October 1st.
I make that motion, Mayor.
Director Webb, seconded by
Second.
Director Holliday. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign. Motion to table is approved. We'll move on to consider ordinance O-24-26. And I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title.
So moved.
Director Webb,
Second.
second by Director Trustee. We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules to read by title. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Council, please read by title.
Ordinance O-24-26, an ordinance amending the flood damage prevention code as codified in Hot Springs Code Section 15-8-19 and amending ordinance number 6486. That concludes your reading. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Trustee, second by Director Webb, and Deputy City Manager Denny McFate will provide the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Every 5 years, a community rating system audit by FEMA is conducted to ensure the city of Hot Springs maintains our national flood insurance protection for the city residents. Earlier this year, ordinance number 6486 was adopted on February 20th and approved certain amendments to the flood damage prevention code at that time. The NFIP's community rating specialist recommended after this previous audit an additional amendment to the city's flood damage prevention code, specifically Hot Springs Code 15-8-19, to better protect manufactured homes and non-residential structures from flood damage. And that was basically flood proofing the houses to 2 foot above the BFE for non-residential structures and mobile homes. And that's a new requirement by them for us to continue our Class 8 rating classification for our flood insurance.
Any questions of Denny? Thank you. Anybody sign up?
No, sir.
Discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Beard.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holiday.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. This time we'll move on to consider ordinance O-24-27. I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title.
So moved.
Director Webb, seconded by
Second.
Director Holliday. I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Please read by title.
Ordinance O-24-27, an ordinance amending the zoning map from R3 low-density residential to R4 medium-high-density residential for 1.94 unplatted acres generally located at 1355 7th Street and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Trustee, seconded by
Second.
Director Webb. And Director of Planning and Development Kathy Selman will speak. Who is Kathy Webb?
related? I've got a cousin.
Kathy Selman.
Thank you. The applicant is Mr. William Bird, representing the property owner Birdhouse LLC. The subject property is currently zoned R3 low-density residential, has a future land use plan classification of residential medium-high, and it's in District Number 3. The change from R3 low-density residential to R4 medium-high density residential is what we are considering tonight. The Hot Springs Code, Section 16254, talks about the medium to high density development in the city, and notes that it has full access to municipal water and sewer systems. It should be a mixture of single-family homes, duplexes, apartments, and customary accessory uses near schools, employment centers, and commercial centers. The appropriate gross densities are 6 units per acre and above. The corresponding land use in the comprehensive plan is residential medium-high. R4 developments shall provide internal traffic systems that reflect an interconnected grid system to the extent allowed by existing topography, and access to development should be by collector or arterial level streets. And 7th Street is an arterial street in the street classification system. Hot Springs Code requires that Planning Commission shall make a specific finding and lists 6 different findings, at least one of which must be made in the case of a recommendation for approval of a request to rezone. And in this case, Planning Commission found that it implements an approved city plan, the future land use plan, and that it demonstrates compatibility with surrounding development or zoning. The recommendation to the Board of Directors from Planning Commission, after Planning Commission duly advertised and held a public hearing on August 8th, calling for testimony and considering the record, was a 9-0 vote to accept staff report findings regarding the required findings of the code, and to recommend approving this zone change request from R3 to R4. There were several nearby property owners speaking against the request, and including presenting a petition against the request. And I believe that some of those people are in the room here tonight and will be explaining that to you. That concludes the presentation.
Do you have any questions of Ms. Selman? Kathy, a couple questions. So we're moving from R3 low density residential to R4 medium high density on the 1.94 acres. And I know you made a comment that there was 6 units per acre for the medium. Did I hear you right there? Medium to high?
The code notes that that is kind of a general rule of thumb. That is by no means a requirement, and the shape, the topography, and surrounding conditions will, in many cases, make that number a lower number.
Right. So in a perfect world where you just had a flat piece of property, forget about topography and things like that, what would be the difference between the R3 low density and the R4 high density? What could be built there today? And if we approve this, what could be?
The primary difference is that R3 is exclusively a single-family detached zone district, and R4 allows for not only single-family detached, but also duplex and other attached and multifamily type types of housing to be built.
Okay. Director Webb, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'll yield to you if you still have
No, go
further
right ahead.
line. Thank you, Mayor. On this particular property, Miss Kathy, where we've got 1.94 acres, and I did take time to watch the Planning Commission meeting, so I heard everything that was discussed amongst the planning commissioners and those that were speaking against it, and Mr. Byrd having testimony too in front of everybody. On this 1.94 with R4, if we were to move in that direction, is the most he could build as far as units go 23, but under the way that this 1.94 acres are, being that it's close if not in a floodplain, are there actually some acres of the 1.94 that essentially couldn't have anything built on it, or would it just need an immense amount of work to do so? Can you kind of explain that part?
Yeah, both of those statements are true.
Okay.
There are things that could be done engineering-wise, and changing the contours of the land to take buildings out of the floodplain. That's complicated, time-consuming, and expensive. And the applicant has not indicated that that is a direction he wishes to go.
And right, I did hear that part too, where the applicant did explain that he has no intentions of disturbing that particular part of the property, and did state that 6 units is all that he plans to do. So that's 3 duplexes with 2 apiece, so that's 6 units, minus the part that is, or I should say, minus the part that requires an extensive amount of work. Or even with that part, what is the max number of units that could go in this 1.94? Was that number 23?
That sounds like it should be something that
Okay.
you could just divide some number into some other number and come up with it, but I'm really not able to do that with the information that I have.
Okay.
Yep.
That's all I was going to ask. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, maybe I don't know what a definition of a unit is. I thought in your presentation you said 6 units per acre, 1.94 acres, so it can't be more than 12.
That is an average number.
Well, 12's a lot less than 23.
It is a lot less than 23, and that's why I can't give you a number. The information that's required to give you that number requires significant engineering and other technical work to be done, and I can't really give you a number.
I think the mayor's point is valid too. I think maybe the question I had wasn't speaking to individual units. I think where the 23 number, I think it was the amount of petitions that went around, but I think too, I heard in the planning commission meeting where somebody had mentioned that there could be 23 units if they were like multi-story. So like that's 12 times 2, which, you know, that it's 24, but I think when you do the math, it actually comes out a little bit less than 24. So 23 is where it came out to if they were double story. That was one of the questions I think that come up in the planning commission.
Right, and that, again, that number is speculative.
Right.
Without the additional work being done.
Director Dobbs-Smith?
2 questions. One goes back to, once again, how many, if the zoning stays the same, how many units could be built there? How many single-family homes could be built there right now, today?
I think R3 is a 10,000 square foot lot, so possibly 8,
Okay.
but they cannot be attached. A duplex cannot be built with the existing zone.
And there's no zoning just for duplexes,
There is not.
even in our new code?
There is not an exclusively duplex zone in the new proposed code, no.
But our new code allows for more more structures per acre than our previous code, our current code does?
There are zone districts that would allow for that, but they are not being placed on existing zoning in such a way that would increase the density. They would be zones that are available if somebody wanted to apply to have that zone.
So would this be eligible, I guess is what I'm getting at?
It-
Would this
it
be
could be.
eligible?
It could
Without
be.
changing the zoning, when we go with our new code forward, it's possible that we could, that a different district could be applied for without having to go through this?
Okay. They could apply for a different district. There is no district that tops out at duplexes. There are districts that would allow for attached units or multifamily units. And
So maybe.
yes, definitely maybe.
And then
Yes.
the other question was, I watched the planning meeting as well, and there was, and this piece of property looks much smaller in person than it does when you say it's almost, it's 1.9 acres. It looks a whole lot smaller. It doesn't look like you could come anywhere close to getting 24 units on there. But if we change this zoning, even though the current owner says he won't do it, if he gets rid of it, somebody else could try to do it. Not that they would, but that does give me a little concern. The other thing was, at the planning meeting, there was discussion of a road that the current residents access now. And I couldn't really see what that was without getting out and walking.
7th Street Court. And that is illustrated on the zone change request map to the Board of Directors. It's in your packet right before, I don't know what page number I don't have that.
I just couldn't see it from just driving by. And also, it was mentioned at the planning meeting that this is bordered on two sides by multifamily.
It is bordered on
And I only could
at
see
least
one.
one side.
I could
and
see
is-
the one side.
Is very nearby. You can see the R4 to the south.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any, Director Holliday?
Thanks. This is less of a question, more of a statement. I do understand how everyone's kind of having these questions about essentially how many like Lego building blocks we can put in a lot. But, and this is just my planning hat on, like Director Dobbs-Smith said, it's a fairly narrow lot. And a lot of the things that I know Kathy is not speculating on, that we can't speculate on, are just some really basic things like setbacks and turnarounds and driveways and stuff that's going to take a phenomenal amount of space. Even if you look at the adjacent R4, Bentry Court and that cul-de-sac take up a really significant amount of space. And so the fear of cramming 23 units on the property doesn't make a lot of sense, even if you start drawing lines on it. But I do, echo Director Dobbs-Smith's comment that when we look at zoning, we do look at all of the future possibilities. But keeping that in mind, it's also adjacent to an R4, and even at max density, we're not looking at just thousands of people piled on top of each other. It's just not possible in that footprint. So, and again, as usual, when we talk about zoning, we're talking about zoning. We're not talking about site plans, not talking about any of that other stuff. It's just the zone for the piece of property that we're looking at. So that's it. Thanks.
Any additional comments?
Mayor, am I allowed to ask a
Yes,
question?
please, Director Garcia.
Thank you. From my understanding, for the change would allow the units to be attached, and that would allow at least 6 attached unit. And from what I could ascertain, does this support the Board of Directors' goal for affordable housing?
This would allow for housing options that are not possible at this time.
Thank you.
Well, go ahead, Director Webb.
Thank you, Mayor. Egress, where do we see that happening, Ms. Kathy? Would that just be just on 7th Street? Or was that?
That's why I don't want to tell you where it's going to be. There are actually potentially, definitely one, probably two, and possibly three different public rights of way that do touch this property, each on different sides. It is most likely that the access would be from 7th Street, but that doesn't mean it will be. And if, for example, 3 lots were to be created, each to hold 1 duplex, which is 2 homes, it's most likely that a city street would need to be constructed along one of the long sides of this lot. And Director Holliday is very correct in pointing out that that infrastructure created to a city standard would chew up a lot of the development potential of this 1.94 acres. So this is a skinny lot, and that skinniness limits the possible configurations of the buildings on the site. And it gets even skinnier if you have to provide a city street to provide access to those lots. Again, that's speculative, but please know that there is no site plan, no plat in play at this time. And you know, there are many possibilities.
Thank you. And the owner's here, right? Or I mean, the property owner is here to speak?
I imagine
Okay.
he is.
Okay, thank you.
Well, they're all signed up, or we have a number of people signed up to speak, so let's bring them forward, and then we'll always have a chance to bring Kathy back. Our first individual signed up to speak, and I can't necessarily read the last name, but I'm going to say Jody Anderson or Anders. Jody? Anything close to Jody Anderson? Okay. William Byrd? Please come up and restate your name, address, and district, please. And everybody coming forward, please recognize that we have a 3-minute rule, and we can be a little bit flexible, but please try to stay within that 3-minute. Mr. Byrd?
How's it going? My name is William Byrd. I'm at 1348 7th Street in District 4. I'm going to keep this well under 3 minutes. I do get all of the different variables that make this lot a confusing situation. I tried to quell the fears. I live directly across the street from this lot, so I'm really not interested in seeing an apartment complex going up there. But this morning, I turned in an application for something to try to help, which I don't know if I can pass this, that divides the lot into the 3 lots, which would make the possibility of putting an apartment complex impossible. There would be no physical way that you could make an apartment complex because it's going to be 3 different lots. One is 0.7 acres. The 2 that are facing 7th Street each have 100 feet of frontage on 7th Street. The other one is accessible through Bentry Court. There's a woman that lives on the end of 7th Street Court. I believe her last name is Semington or something similar to that. Hers is completely unaffected. Their 7th Street Court is completely unaffected. There is a clear entrance from Bentry for the back side of the lot. The first 2 come directly off 7th Street. The intention, yes, because I don't have a site plan, I don't have the plans for to bring the duplexes and all that. That'll be a later process. But I was hoping by filing that this morning that the fear of having a 2-acre lot with just a gargantuan, ugly apartment complex would stop the worries. That really is all that I have, other than, what you guys have probably already heard in the first meeting. I don't have the want nor mean to live across from an apartment complex crammed onto a small lot. I'm just trying to put a couple duplexes over there, and that's it.
Very good.
So,
Thank you.
guys.
Any question? 1 second,
Yes,
Mr.
yes.
Byrd. Questions? Director Webb?
Yeah, I've got a couple of statements, Mayor. Thank you, and then maybe a question at the end. But Mr. Byrd, I like I was sharing with you and others here tonight, I did take time to watch everything in its conclusion on the Planning Commission, and I got to tell you, I thought you carried yourself well and were very candid with those who had some serious concerns, as we all do when we see things happening in our neighborhood, in our community. We've got a lot of questions. We want to bring those questions to the surface and then hope that somebody responds to those questions in a caring way. And I thought with a lot of the concerns that many who are probably here tonight to share with us that they did share at the Planning Commission, you were pretty honest and open and transparent to everybody.
I try to be.
I remember you saying, if anything that I'm saying here tonight is a lie, I'm going to bring all of you back up here to vote on its appeal. And we're looking at the zoning aspect alone. All of the other conditions and what may happen here as a result of this zoning, that's all voluntary. And I don't think you hindered any of those concerns by not sharing what your full intentions or plans are. I feel relieved to hear you respond to those questions. So I was just going to share that with you. I don't really think I have a question other than, if the mayor allows you to pass along to us what you were going to share with us, I would like to see it. But I appreciate you being upfront and honest with everybody who did have some concerns and do your best to address those. And you were kind of relating it not just from a developer standpoint, but from also a resident of that very community that you'll be developing in or could be developing in. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Mr. Byrd? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Melvin Webb?
Can he pass that around, Mayor?
Pardon?
Can he share that with us?
No. Melvin Webb? Maybe they signed up on the wrong item. Paul Hayes? Mr. Hayes, please come forward and restate your name, address, and district, please. Welcome.
My name's Paul Hayes. I live at 1349 7th Street. My house adjoins the property adjoins 7th Street on its northwest corner. I am opposed to this. I just want to share some facts with you tonight. First fact, there's some material errors in the staff report. The staff report says it adjoins 2 other R4 properties. It only adjoins one, the Bent Tree Court housing development, and that whole parcel is also single-family housing. The second parcel, the apartments, are adjoin that, but not this land. The second thing is there are only 2 streets, not 3. Where 7th Street Court turns, the city's done nothing there for over 20 years. That's been used by the people who live at the end of that street as their own personal driveway and parking area. For all intents and purposes, they own that by adverse possession. And so if you are using the number of streets there's access to, that's there. This week, my wife and I were doing some estate planning and doing our wills, and the lawyer who helped us said, we're all just one trip away from the store from having our whole life change. And despite someone's best intentions, until something's built, it can change. Up to 6 units per acre is for R3. The way R4 reads is you can have up to 12 units per acre. And God forbid if something were to happen to Mr. Byrd before he built his duplexes and the land was sold to a developer, there's nothing to prevent a developer from buying all 3 parcels and doing anything that's allowed under R4, which includes townhouses, duplexes, and apartment buildings. And you know, if you approve R4 zoning, and Mr. Byrd proceeds as he plans to with one duplex on each of 1/3 of that as a separate lot, in the future, if he sells that to someone else, that person can put 3 other duplexes on there with the zoning you would grant if you give R4. And they wouldn't have to come back for any zoning change requests. This neighborhood is predominantly single-family homes with the exception of the Bent Tree Apartments. A better way to increase the density of housing in an area that's single-family homes would be to create a district that allows accessory dwelling units to create more properties, not to stick multifamily in the middle of all single-family housing. As someone who moved to Hot Springs a year ago and retired here and planned to get old and die here, I can tell you flat out, one of the best ways this city will grow economically is to have people like me whose income isn't tied to anything that goes on here and comes in the mail every month, move to Hot Springs. And people who move to Hot Springs to retire aren't looking for multifamily housing. They're looking for a single-family house with a yard where their grandkids can play. And I would strongly urge you not to approve this zoning change. I'd be the first to be thrilled if there were 11 houses built on a cul-de-sac on that street, because it will stabilize the neighborhood in its current character. But to stick multifamily in the middle of nothing, there's no other multifamily touching it. And yes, 7th Street is an arterial street, but it's, as best I can tell, it's that by default. It's a very, if you've driven it, you know what I'm saying.
Very
And,
good. Could I have a closing comment, Mr. Hayes?
but anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Melvin Webb. Lacey Griffin. They must have signed up for. And then Shannon Webb. Darren Snapper. Please come forward and restate your name, address, and district, please.
Good evening. My name is Darren Snapper. I live at 106 7th Street Court. I bought my house last year in April, and I'm 59. This is the first house I've been able to buy. When one of the things that appealed to me was this open lot behind me. The back of my property faces this lot. I have 3 bedrooms. Every bedroom window looks out on that lot. And yeah, it's nice. But I checked with my real estate agent. I said, what is the zoning there? What could be built there? And I was told it's zoned for single-family, single-story homes. And I said, you know what? That would be okay. That's consistent with the neighborhood. I could live with that, and that would not affect my property value. My concern here, with all due respect, I know Mr. Webb congratulated Will on his honesty. I don't trust Will. I think this is a bait and switch. It could be. If R4 zoning is approved, there could be over 20 units built on this lot. And that would change the entire neighborhood. It would bring my property values down as well as Paul's and everybody else around. The other thing I wanted to address was that third access off of 7th Street Court. And I saw a map that shows that there is access to this property from my street, 7th Street Court. And it does not exist. There's nothing there. That's my neighbor's property, my next door neighbor. That's where she parks her car. It's her driveway. And I don't know if some of that supposed easement or whatever is on part of my property. But I'll tell you what, 7th Street Court has been abandoned by the city. It's, there's been no maintenance. My next door neighbor, Cheryl Smanton, her family has owned their properties there for, well, it's 27 years. And it's a dead-end street. There's two big signs at the front of the street, dead end, no exit. And so there is not that third access to this property from 7th Street Court. And if the city tried to seize that, there would be litigation involved. This would be devastating for the neighborhood. Everything around there is single-story, single-family homes, and it would change everything.
Okay, any questions of Mr. Snapper? Thank you. I believe that completes those who have signed up. I know we had some that signed up perhaps for another topic. Is there anybody else in the audience that wanted to speak on this but did not sign up? Thank you. Discussion amongst directors.
Yep, I've got a question. I think
Director Webb?
B, you can probably help me with this one, but it's my understanding, you know, after looking at our zone and codes and based on what we're hearing tonight, that to do any kind of duplex per se, that can't take place in an R3 as it stands now. Does that sound correct?
That's correct.
That has to be done in an R4?
Yes, as your code currently stands.
Okay.
I would like to point out something, not that it has any bearing on your decision whether or not to rezone this, but we've heard twice tonight something about 7th Street Court and adverse possession and abandonment and all of that. I just want to be clear, this is no different than the public hearing that you had earlier on Beatrice. 7th Street Court is a public right-of-way. It just has never been improved. It's never been built out. It is public. You cannot take public property by adverse possession. If you were to allow the development here, and if there were a street to be built, it would have to be built to city specs. But 7th Street Court is a public right-of-way until it's vacated.
Director Webb, continue.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And this is 100% up to Director Dobbs-Smith, but being that this is in District 3, I kind of want to hear where Director Dobbs-Smith is.
My feeling on it is, this has nothing to do with personalities, and I personally know Mr. Byrd, and I know that I feel that he is a man of his word. But there is, whenever you change a zone, there is always the possibility. I mean, I could walk out of here and get run over by a pulpwood truck when I leave here and be dead. And the same thing, if we vote to change this, something could happen to Mr. Byrd, even though he has the most earnest of intentions. But then the other thing, and as far as the abandon of the street, I have personal experience with that. They give it to half to this one and half to that when they do abandon it, but right now it's a public street, and anyone who's using it for parking is parking on a public street. So that is not an issue for me. I did see, however, in the Planning Commission, it was discussed that there were two sides were R4, and I can't see that, and the neighbors don't seem to think that there's an R4. So that is a concern for me. This is really a tough one. As looking at the topography there, if you look at the aerial photograph and you can kind of visualize, you can look at the homes that are there, how big a yard is, how big a street is. I don't see how you could possibly get 24 houses on there, even if they were two-story duplexes. But I have always been opposed to changing zoning in in residential neighborhoods unless it's completely surrounded by commercial or the same zoning. If there were Bent Tree Apartments all the way around this, it would be a no-brainer. You go, yeah, let's put some more apartments in. But these all are consistent sizing on these houses. They are all, they look like they're all in similar, you don't have great big mansions, but you don't have little tiny houses there either. They all seem to be the same. And if I bought that property, I would expect to see, due to the zoning, that something similar would be put in there. And I can't see how you could get with a street more than 6 houses or so in there. I don't know what the objection is to the duplexes. However, if there's no zoning for duplexes, how would you get a duplex in there? So I can see that concern as well. So that's all I've-
Director Holliday?
I was going to ask, has anyone else actually looked at the city map to see how much is in the floodplain? I'll take that as a no. We can on our computer here, but it looks like, I'd say 15 to 20% at least of that lot is in the floodplain. So just as far as, going back to this possibility of density and everything, there's a large portion of it that would be undeveloped. And by not approving this zoning, we're essentially saying that nearly 2 acres of a neighborhood will not be fully developed for people to live in it. Especially talking about, egress and streets and all of that. I think that personally, I think duplexes fit really nicely in with single-family homes. Apartment buildings, not so much, but there is an apartment building really close. So I think it's a good idea to do the rezone, especially because it's adjacent to an R4. And again, between the lot split already being in, I think protects a little bit of that fear. But also looking at how much is in the flood zone. Did you find it? Yeah, and you can do the, if you click on the bottom right corner, the bottom right picture, you can get the satellite view. Yeah. So I don't.
56, 65.
Southeast corner.
Yeah. I don't have the same fear of it being overdeveloped. I understand the fear, but just based on what's in front of me and what could reasonably be done in our current zoning code with setbacks and everything else, I don't have the same fear of it being overdeveloped in a way that's inappropriate with the rest of the neighborhood.
Additional questions or comments from the board members? Director Webb?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate Director Dobbs-Smith sharing where she is on this. And I look at what's on the potential to occur in this lot, 1.9 acres, and I do share some of the worries that those that live in this neighborhood and community have. I live in a neighborhood or community myself that just not too many months ago got to see some changes in somewhat adjacent property. I'm not seeing as many of the issues come up with this one that did with mine, but I can relate to you as you're sharing with us what could be some potential issues. Here with 1.94 acres and us just taking a look at the floodplain, again, I share what Director Holliday was stating in that there isn't too much that could happen on this property aside from what Mr. Byrd is sharing with everybody. And it's something to have a potential developer being as upfront and transparent with everybody of his full intentions of what he plans to do with this land. And with 3 duplexes, 6 units, that isn't going to bring an excessive amount of traffic in and out of this area. It isn't going to overburden this property. And there isn't any way to do that in R3. The only way that those duplexes could fit on this property is if it's in R4. And once those duplexes are in this property under R4, there's really nothing else that could happen with the remaining land that's available due to a majority of it being in floodplain, and plus there just not being that much acreage left to do anything with in itself. And again, I think we fall back, I believe it was Director Garcia who was mentioning earlier in the meeting, how does this affect, one of the board's overall goals, which is to provide housing for those that live in our community. What's going to provide housing here for those in our community? A lot with nothing on it, or a lot with 6 units, or 3 duplexes. So it's one of those deals where I can share what your concerns are, but I don't think I feel as convinced that there are great concerns based on the plans that are being shared with us on what could happen with this land if rezoned to R4.
Any other comments amongst directors? Any more comments?
Mayor, I do want to point out, for the benefit of Mr. Byrd, looking at the proposal that he passed around, and by the way, you don't do conditional zoning. It's either you rezone or you don't. If he were to have filed a plat, a division of the property ahead of time, and that was made of record, you could be considering it. But I do want Mr. Byrd to understand that he does not have public access at Bentry Court. I don't know if that was factored into your plat or not, as to whether or not you were planning on having access through Bentry Court. You do not. There's private property between the curb cut and your property line. I just want to point that out. Pardon?
There is access from Bentry. It does not show on this. It does show on the plat. There is, at the end of that road, there is a trapezoidal piece that connects the improved road to the property line.
Okay. It doesn't show up on the assessor's page that way.
It does not.
Okay. Is that part of the packet? Is it in there anywhere?
I don't know if it is in there or not in there. but
That section of the plat's cut off. Can't see it.
If it is not, it should be.
Okay, any other questions or discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Dobbs-Smith,
No.
Webb,
Aye.
Trustee,
Aye.
Holliday,
Aye.
Beard,
No.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is approved, adopted. Our final action of the evening is to consider ordinance O-24-28. And I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title.
So moved.
Director Trustee, seconded by
Second.
Director Dobbs-Smith. All in favor of the motion to suspend the rules and read by title only, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. Please read by title.
Ordinance O-24-28, an ordinance amending the zoning map from R3 low-density residential to CTR commercial transition for land generally located at 220 Gulfa Street and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Director Trustee, seconded by
Second.
Director Webb. And our staff report will be provided by Kathy Selman,
Thank you,
Planning
Mayor.
and Development Director.
The applicant is Miss Lacey Griffith, representing Union Missionary Baptist Church. The property is currently and has historically been utilized as overflow parking for the church. There's approximately 220 feet of street frontage on Gulfa Street. The Union Missionary Baptist Church building is directly across from this property at 219 Gulfa Street. And the subject property is located between the junction of Pleasant and Gulfa and the junction of Laurel and Gulfa, and it is not located within the Pleasant Street Historic District boundary. Properties to the west are zoned CTR, commercial transitional, with apartments, record shop, and barber shop close to the junction of Pleasant and Gulfa. Property to the northwest is zoned CTR where the Webb Community Center is located, and to the southwest is more CTR zoning. Single-family property zoned R3, low-density residential district, are to the south, fronting along Garden Street. Vacant, undeveloped properties are to the east, as well as a large parking lot, which is close to the junction of Laurel and Gulfa. The requested CTR, Commercial Transitional Zone Change, demonstrates a public need for land so zoned, and it is compatible with surrounding CTR zoning. In terms of the need for land so zoned, Union Missionary Baptist Church is a longstanding asset in our community, and their need for parking is a good sign that we have a healthy congregation at that location. And parking in an area distant, more distant from the church than this would not be feasible. Planning Commission duly advertised and held a public hearing on August 8th, 2024, calling for testimony and considering the record. They voted 9-0 to accept the staff report findings and to recommend approving this zone change, assigning CTR Commercial Transition District zoning. That concludes the presentation.
Any questions of Ms. Selman? Thank you. We have a number of people who did sign up for this. Lacey Griffin? Miss Griffin? Lacey? Please come forward. Lacey Griffin? Please come forward.
Mr. Webb's going to speak. Mr. Webb.
Okay, Melvin Webb, please come forward. Restate your name, address, and district, please. Thank you.
My name is Melvin L. Webb. I live at 210 Melwood Street. I think I'm in the 6th district.
I think so.
All right. I just come, the church is petitioning for the CTR because our intention is to, in the future, pave the lots. And we would like to have it rezoned now so that in the future when we do have the funds to do it, that we don't have to, come before it to do it. We can just go ahead and have the contractors to do the work when we accumulate the funds to have the work done.
Okay, any questions of Mr. Webb? I mean, Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharon Webb? You're okay? Okay. Those are the only individuals that have signed up to speak on this issue. Did we have another sheet? Because they signed up on an incorrect sheet, but.
There are no signatures on the other sheet.
Okay, I just didn't want to
so-
miss anybody. Was there anybody else in the audience that wanted to speak on this ordinance, O-24-28? Thank you. Discussion amongst directors?
I have
Director Beard?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have a question for that. I see some of the church members here, and so I would like to ask a question. I mean, from someone else, but I am getting some concerns from the community about parking. That this area has always been shared parking with the Webb Center, and I'm sorry, the parking in general, they've always shared with the Webb Center. So with the parking that we're approving to change over from the residential to commercial, I would like to know if parking will be allowed with the Webb Center. And the reason that I ask is I did speak with the pastor on Sunday, and he did share with me, but I was just wondering if we could get that on record, because when they're currently, that part of the parking that was available is not available anymore because there's some kind of a rope or something. So my question is, the parking, if once it's changed over, will it be shared with the Webb Center?
Well, isn't, really, that's a private matter between the church and the Webb Center. That's,
I understand that, but as the district, or as the city director for District 2, this is something that was asked of me. And if the church, and I do not know, but if the church would like the zoning changed, I want it to know. And if it's not okay, then let's say that. But we want to know if the Webb Center is going to be able to access the parking.
but that is not part of the application and rezoning process. It's, I
Okay,
think those
so
two
then-
organizations
right.
have lived next to each other forever, and so, and I can't speak for one or the other, but that's just a matter
Well,
between them.
is there anyone from the church that wants to answer my question?
I'll just say they're not compelled to give an answer. It's not
That's
part
right,
of the
but
application.
as the director, I am compelled to ask the question.
That-
And I did.
Well, you
and-
can
and if
ask the
they-
question if it's not part of their application, and they don't have to respond.
Okay, so then I will, if no one wants to take that, because I will get asked this question, and if there's not an answer, then at least I asked.
Okay, any other discussion amongst directors?
I have a Kathy question, if I can.
Please.
And this is just to make sure that I'm reading the map properly, and we touched on it a little bit in the agenda meeting, but the actual parcel is a very strange shape that includes several lots. But we're only talking about the 4 lots, so we would have a parcel that was split zoned in the end, correct?
The 4 lots would all be CTR.
Correct.
Is that your question?
Well, we have the parcel and we have the lots. The parcel is this very bizarre shape. It's not a rectangle.
Right.
So I was just confirming that I'm reading the map properly, that the parcel itself would be split zoned, but it's full, the legal lots themselves would be fully zoned.
The lots would be fully zoned,
I-
yes.
I think what-
Lots
what you're-
8, 9, 10, and 11.
What you're referencing is a tax parcel, and so the assessor does that for ease of convenience when you're dealing with a church, a nonprofit, that's tax exempt.
That they put them all together, okay.
But it's only the actual lots, 8, 9, 10, and 11.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted, like I said, in looking at the map, the parcel was a very different shape than what
Yeah,
we're talking
yeah.
about. But if we don't need to reference the parcel anyway, we're just talking about the lots. I just wanted to make sure, because sometimes some split zones come in and we have to clean it up later.
Yes.
Somebody's phone vibrating.
Could be Director Garcia.
No, it was on me.
That was a whisper, Director Garcia.
Thank you.
She's
That
got
was
good
it.
hearing.
Your mic works.
All right. So, we got that cleared up on the
Yeah.
parcels
Thank you.
involved. Okay, any other comments or questions amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Webb.
Aye.
Trustee
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Beard.
No.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance O-24-28 is adopted. That completes the action items for this evening. We'll move on to Board of Directors items for discussion. Are there any items for discussion? All right.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Director Garcia, I know you can't make a motion and vote, but we'll, in an honorary way, we will let you go forward, but we'll actually have the minutes reflect Director Dobb Smith. But go ahead.
No, I was going to bring up kudos for the Hot Springs Police Department and bringing out the new SWAT vehicle, and the fire department for bringing out the fire truck from number 6 for the community family picnic for Labor Day. And they really made a lot of children and adults smile and showing them these vehicles and allowing kids to go up in them and see what they're all about. And all of the officers involved were so friendly and did a really great job. I was really proud of our firefighters and our police officers that participated in that, and wanted to give them a big shout out and thank them.
Very good. Thank you. That came under Director's Items for Discussion. Thank you. Director Webb?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. So I want to just bring this up to allow directors and mayor and city staff to just consider thinking about this. I received a call in regards to STRs, and the request that was made to me was reasonable. So I've been thinking about it, and I want to share it with y'all just to think about. So you haven't got to give me a response tonight. Please don't do that. And I don't want somebody to leave here thinking I'm for this or I'm against that. It was just, I guess, shared with me. It was a reasonable suggestion, so I'm bringing it up to everybody. I am for our cap of 400 for STRs for the city, so I do want to make sure to state that. The concern came up, and you know, we've got a cap here in the city for STRs that's at 400, and that is for detached homes. It doesn't take into consideration condos and apartments and that kind of deal. So this is single family homes. We've got a cap at 400, and I think right now we're over that due to grandfathering in. We're at like 426, 424. So the call I received is somebody who is a citizen of Hot Springs. Matter of fact, she is a retired and disabled Army veteran here in Hot Springs. She's got a 5-bedroom, 5-bath kind of big home here in Hot Springs, within walking distance of Oaklawn. And she and her family now, as her children have gotten older, she and her husband want to move into a smaller home, and they're trying to make up their mind whether they want to sell their home or whether they want to consider having their home used as an STR. But at the way things are right now, the likelihood of this person being able to establish her home as an STR is slim to none, because we've exceeded the cap. The cap's 400, it's at 426. So her suggestion was, have we ever considered putting STRs, those that have an STR license, on some type of a lottery where, you know, for example, however many STR licensures that we have, we place those names in a hat and we draw. And whoever we draw until we get to 400 has an STR for a certain amount of time period, and at which time we draw again. It was a reasonable suggestion. I'm bringing it up. How that might work, what that might look like, what could be some pros to that, what could be some cons to that. Those kind of questions are all out there, but it was a reasonable suggestion. And because even where they're moving is still in Hot Springs, so she and her husband and family will be residents of Hot Springs, even no matter what happens with their home. I want to share that with y'all to give you some food for thought. If it's something we might consider, we can bring it to the drawing board. If it's something that just can't work, then we can consider it moot, but I want to share it with you.
Yeah,
And
we'll
I appreciate
let Brian and Bill, study up on that. Any other items for discussion, directors? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Director Beard, did you have item for discussion?
Yes, I did. I was actually going to ask about the cemetery. Do we have an update on the problems with upkeep like Greenwood?
Yeah, I think Bill actually had a conversation with Mr. Crouch about the owner of that property. That property's been purchased by an investment company, but the registered agent is still at Selected Funeral. So I don't have any, I wasn't privy to that conversation, so I'm not sure what you could add.
I did have a
I can
meeting
say
with
something.
Mr. Crouch, and I know that Director Dobb Smith also had a conversation with Guy, who is managing those cemeteries. He has been in contact with the owner. They've already had crews over at Greenwood cleaning that up. Still had some ways to go, but I did go by there last week, and you could see a vast difference in the condition of the cemetery. There was also an issue over on Hollywood that I'd received several months ago, and I went over and checked that Friday as well, and that had been taken care of. So I think that, I'm sorry, I can't remember Guy's last name. I've got it written down in my office, but I think he's made progress with this, with the owner who lives out of state. He is in the process of trying to sell those. He thought I think there's 5 total. He had them sold. The deal fell through 2 weeks before close. But I do know that they are addressing the concerns that we've heard over the past couple of weeks. And I've had 2 families contact me. I was able to contact them and let them know about the meeting I had with Mr. Crouch and in the work that Guy's doing. I appreciate Director Dobb Smith for being involved in that, because she had a long conversation with Guy, and I think it answered some questions.
He was deeply regretted the way that it looks, but it really doesn't belong to them right now. They are pursuing, trying to get the property back, but it would be like a foreclosure. You know, just because you used to own it doesn't mean you can necessarily do something to it. But he is sensitive to the matter. It was a long time selected property, and they are doing their best to get it cleaned up, and they completely understand how the families feel. And plus the neighborhoods to have to drive around and look at tall grass and fallen trees. So they're doing their best. And they said to express that to the public and to the city management. Thank you.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
I guess, yeah, she can't do it.
She's not here. She can't.
No.
The Blues Brother can't
Well,
say anything.
I thought we were almost adjourned, and I was going to give her an honorary adjournment, but I was going
No,
to.
I think that since it's, what is this, 20 minutes till, that I move that we adjourn this meeting with or without Director
We got a
Garcia.
motion by
Second.
Dobb Smith to adjourn, seconded by Director Webb. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.